Hello everyone, welcome to our second lecture in phonetics and phonology. Today we're going to talk about the organs of speech. Okay, let's start our lecture. Okay, now speech, as you know, is a way of human communication in which organs of speech like the tongue, the lungs, the lips and the teeth, or we call them the vocal organs, are used to generate patterns of sounds or generally sounds that have meaningful associations or specific meanings. Okay, now at a basic level or at the beginning, all speech sounds start as silent air, and then they become sound waves, and then they degenerate or become plain air again. So how does this happen? Now, when we produce sound, the molecules or particles of air that come up from the lungs are rearranged by the movement of the vocal organs or the organs of speech. And these molecules or particles exit the vocal tract as a type of pressure wave called sound wave. So the air that comes up from the lungs is rearranged as a result of the movement of the vocal organs or the speech organs, and then they exit the vocal tract as a kind of like a pressure wave called sound wave. Okay, then this sound wave travels through the air that surrounds the speaker. So it leaves the speaker, so the speaker provides this sound wave. It travels through the air surrounding the speaker and then reaches the ears of another person, creating a sensation of sound before it degenerates to become air again as it enters into the listener's ear. So again, this speech sound travels through the air that surrounds the speaker, and it becomes like a sound. Then it arrives the listener and degenerates again to become plain air. So for the production of speech, or when we produce sounds, we need something we call a stream mechanism. So what do we mean by a stream mechanism? Well, a stream mechanism can be modeled on this chart. Okay, so how does it work? So when we produce English sounds or speech, we use what we call aggressive pulmonic air stream. Pulmonic means something related to the lungs. Okay, so again we use aggressive pulmonic air stream, and this means that the air is pushed out of the lungs through the mouth or nose, or maybe through both of them. Okay, so here the air comes from the lungs and it travels through the vocal cords, the vocal cords and the pharynx, and here it develops into sound. So the articulation of or movement of these organs make sounds out of the air that came from the lung, and then this sound or sound waves leave the nasal cavity or the mouth cavity, or maybe it can leave from both of them at the same time. Again, and to summarize the air stream mechanism, so as I just said, to produce speech or sounds, we need what we call an air stream mechanism. And in this mechanism, we use aggressive pulmonic air stream. And I said that pulmonic means something related to the lungs. It means رئوي. And through this mechanism, the air is pushed out of the lungs through the mouth or nose, or maybe through both of them. Okay? Now, all speech sounds are made by an aggressive pulmonic air stream. This is something important to keep in mind. And we said that the articulation of the organs of speech produces sound, okay? And this sound leaves the body in the form of sound waves. And these sound waves travel through the air that surrounds the speaker. And just as they reach the speaker, these sound waves create a sensation of sound. They turn into sound that the speaker hears. Okay, and then this sound degenerates into plain air again as it enters the listener's ear. Okay, now let's talk about the organs of speech, or speech organs. Now, what do we mean by organs of speech? Well, these are the parts of the human body which are associated in various ways with the production of speech. So again, they are the parts of the human body which participate in the process of sound or speech production. Okay? And it's also important to mention that their participation in this process, I mean the organs' participation in the process of speech production, is secondary. By this we mean that they have other primary functions which include eating, chewing, swallowing food, and respiration. Okay? These organs of speech are illustrated in this illustration, as you can see. And in fact, all of these organs can be classified into two different categories or groups. The first one is mobile organs. And what do we mean by mobile? These are organs that are active and organs that can move. These organs include the lips, the tongue, the lower jaw, and the velum or the soft palate. Okay, if you look at this illustration, these are the lips, and this is the tongue, and here lies the lower jaw, and this is the velum or the soft palate. Okay, so now the second group is immobile organs. Immobile organs are passive organs, organs that don't move, and these organs include the larynx, the pharynx, the hard palate, and the alveolar ridge. Okay, the larynx, it lies here, and this is the pharynx. Okay, and here lies the hard palate, and we have the alveolar ridge, the part that is just behind your teeth. Okay, it's also important to note that when we make sounds or when we produce speech, mobile organs usually move towards the immobile ones. Okay. Okay, now let's start with our first organ of speech, which is the larynx, al-hunjura. The larynx is also known as Adam's apple. So, where is the larynx in our vocal cavity? Well, the larynx is situated at the top of the windpipe, also known as trachea, al-qasaba al-hawaiya, and continues with it so that all the air passing in or out of the lungs must pass through it. Again, the larynx is located at the top of the trachea and continues with it so that all the air that passes in and out of the lungs must pass through it. Now, the larynx plays a very important role in the process of speech production, and it's also a very important speech organ, and this is because it contains the vocal cords and the glottis. If you look at this illustration of the larynx, you can see here the vocal cords, which are in two types, the true vocal cord and the false vocal cord. Now, where is the glottis? The glottis lies just between the two vocal cords. It's the space between the two vocal cords. Later in the next slide, we're going to discuss the glottis. Okay? Now, the second organ of speech is the glottis. We call it in Arabic lisan al-mizmar. And as I've just said, the glottis refers to the space between the vocal cords in the larynx. And through this space, the air passes upward. Now, when the vocal cords are apart, we say that the glottis is open. And this happens in the breathing state. Okay, when we breathe, our vocal cords are separated and the glottis is open. But if the vocal cords are pressed together, then we say the glottis is closed. Now, an example of a sound that we produce at the glottis is the ha sound as the first sound in the word hat. So if you try to pronounce ha or say hat, then you'll feel where this sound is produced, and this is exactly where the glottis is. Okay? Another sound that is produced at the glottis, and this one is an Arabic sound, it is the hamza. So try saying ah, ah, ah. Okay? This where ah is produced lies the glottis. Now let's discuss our third organ of speech, which is the vocal cords, and we also call them the vocal folds. Now, as I've just mentioned, the vocal cords are situated in the larynx. When we discussed the larynx, we said that it's very important organ because it contains the vocal cords and the glottis. Now, as I said, the vocal cords are situated in the larynx, and they are two elastic tissues that are more like the small lips. Okay? And these vocal cords are placed horizontally. Okay, in normal breathing they are open, while in whispering they are tightly closed but the lower end is open. Okay, again, when we breathe the vocal cords are open, but when we whisper they are tightly closed and the lower end is open. Now, when these vocal cords are open, the air passes freely through them, so they don't vibrate, and the sounds that we produce in this way are called voiceless. But if they are held tightly together, or if they are closed, they vibrate when we try to produce sounds. This is because the air tries or forces its way through them, and the sounds that are produced in this way are voiced. Again, when they are open and we produce sound or the air passes freely through them, then they don't vibrate, and this makes the sounds produced as voiceless. But if they are stressed or held tightly together, then they will vibrate as the air forces its way through them. And sounds produced in this way are called voiced sounds. Okay, now what do we mean by voiced and voiceless sounds? Okay, so to help you understand this, I want you to do this thing with me. Okay, just to help you visualize the difference between voiced and voiceless sounds. Okay, I want you to put your fingertips against your larynx. As we said, put your fingertips against your larynx, الحنجرة أو تفاحة آدم, we said in Arabic, and produce a series of z sound, something like this. Okay? Also, I want you to produce another series of s sound, something like this. Okay, now I want you to do both of these series, or to pronounce these different sounds alternately. So you do something like this. So done. Now, what do you notice? So you should notice that when you pronounce the s sound, the vocal cords don't vibrate, but they vibrate when you pronounce the z sound. Okay, so this is what we mean by voiced and voiceless. So voiced sound, when you pronounce voiced sounds, the vocal cords vibrate. But when you pronounce voiceless sounds, the vocal cords don't vibrate. So this is why the vocal cords or vocal folds are very important articulators or very important organs of speech. It's because they are responsible for the voicing of sounds. Okay, I hope this is clear now. And now if you have a look at this illustration here, vocal cords in action, in this one, illustration A, the vocal cords are in closed position. Yes, which means that the glottis is closed. We mentioned this when we discussed the glottis. We said if the vocal cords are closed, then the glottis is also closed. And in illustration B, the vocal folds are open or in open position, which means that the glottis is open. Okay, let's move on. Now, let's see the fourth organ of speech, which is the pharynx. In Arabic, we call it al-bul'um. So the pharynx is the tube that connects the larynx to the oral cavity. It connects the larynx, al-hunjura, to the oral cavity, tajwif al-fam. Okay? And the best known language that has pharyngeal consonants is Arabic. And these pharyngeal consonants are the voiced a and the voiceless ha. We said voice means the vocal cords vibrate when we pronounce this sound, while when we pronounce ha, the vocal cords don't vibrate. And it's important to know that in English, there are no pharyngeal sounds. Okay, now the fifth organ of speech is the soft palate, and we can also call it the velum. Okay, if you look at this illustration here, this is the soft palate, this part. Okay, so where is the soft palate? Well, the soft palate is located at the back of the roof of the mouth. Located at the back of the roof of the mouth. Well, this is the roof of the mouth, this area, and this is the soft palate at the back of this area. Okay, and the soft palate can move upward or downward. It can move upward, and by this it can block the passage to the nose. Okay, so when the soft palate moves upward and closes the passage to the nose, then the air that passes from the lungs or that travels from the lungs has to come out through the mouth only. And by this way, we produce what we call oral sounds. Okay? And in English, all the sounds are oral except for three sounds: ma, na, and ng. And by the way, the sound ng is exactly like the third sound in the word ring. Okay? Now, when the soft palate is lowered, this means that the air that comes from the lungs leaves through the nose only. Okay? Because now the passage into the nose is open. Well, in this way, the sounds that are produced are called nasal sounds or nasals. And the nasals in English are only three sounds, which are ma, na, and ng. And in Arabic, we have two nasal sounds, which are ma and na. Again, when the palate moves upward and it closes the passage into the nose, this means that the air that leaves the lung will have to go out through the mouth only, and this means we can produce only oral sounds, أصوات فمية أو شفهية. The oral sounds include all the English sounds except for ma, na, and ng. Now, when the soft palate is lowered, this means that the air that comes from the lungs can leave only through the nose, and the sounds that are produced in this manner are called nasal sounds. Okay, and these are ma, na, and ng. Okay, let's talk about the tongue. Well, the first thing you need to know about the tongue is that it is the most active articulator of speech, and it can be involved with other articulators in the production of vowels and consonants. What I mean by this is that the tongue can sometimes help other organs of speech in pronouncing certain sounds. For example, try to pronounce the sounds th as in thin or the as in then. So what do you notice? Here, the production of these two sounds happen when we place the tip of the tongue behind the top front teeth. So here, the tongue and the teeth function or work together to produce these two sounds. Okay? Now, the tongue is divided into 5 parts. Okay? The tip of the tongue or the apex, the blade, the front, the back, and the root of the tongue, which is opposite the velum. Again, if you look at this illustration of the tongue, here we have the tip of the tongue, and then we have the blade, then the front of the tongue, and here the back of the tongue, and the last thing is the root of the tongue, which is, as I just said, it's opposite the velum. Okay? Also, in speech, the sides of the tongue or the margins can also be used or be helpful in speech. For example, they can be used to produce what we call in English lateral sounds, like the sound la in the word like or love. So when we pronounce this sound, the sides of the tongue are raised enough so that the air stream can produce or create a turbulence and then escape the mouth. Okay, now our 7th organ of speech is the teeth, and the teeth is the part of the mouth that plays some major roles in the production of speech. It's important to know that when we produce speech sounds, we only use our upper teeth, and this happens when we produce English sounds like fa as in the word 5, va as in the word voice, tha as in the word thin, and tha as in the word then. Now, our last organ of speech is the lips, and you should know that both lips are active articulators or active organs of speech, and also the position of the lips highly affects the shape of our oral cavity. So again, the shape of the lips is very important, and this shape can be distinguished or divided into 4 types, as I'll show in the following slide. These 4 types or shapes are spread position, neutral position, open position, and close-rounded position. Okay, let's now discuss the 4 lips positions. So for the first one, the spread position, which is shown in this photo, our lips are in a spread position when we pronounce sounds like E, as in words like see and feel. Now, try to pronounce both of these words, see and feel. Okay? So, in a spread position, no friction is heard, and friction means احتكاك. Also, there is a medium lowering of the lower jaw. The lower jaw means الفك السفلي. So, the sound E, as in see and feel, this is a spread position. Now, the neutral position, which is this one. So, the neutral position happens when we pronounce sounds like as in words like get and set. So try to pronounce get and set. So in a neutral position, your lips are relaxed with a medium lowering of the lower jaw. So relaxed lips with a medium lowering of the lower jaw. Again, the sound is e, like in get and set. Now, open position, which is the one here, it happens when we pronounce sounds like a, as in words like part, car, and arm. Okay, try to pronounce part, car, and arm. So, in an open position, your lips are held relatively wide apart, like this. They are apart from each other. And the last position is the close rounded, which is this one. And this position happens when we pronounce sounds like oo, as in words like boot, soon, and fruit. Please try to pronounce boot, soon, fruit. So what happens in a close rounded position? Well, the lips are formed like a small round circle, like this one. Okay, I hope it's clear now. So this is the end of our lecture. I hope everything is clear, and if you do have any other questions, please take notes and we can discuss them in our Zoom class next Sunday. See you then and have a nice day. Thank you.